The Professor Oak's Challenge, what was once a very small Reddit community, is now a pretty common challenge amongst the Pokemon community thanks to some big Poketubers such as John Sona Chaotic Meatball. If you don't know what the Professor Oak's Challenge is, it's a challenge that requires you to fill out your Pokedex as much as you possibly can before each gym. This means catching every available Pokemon and fully evolving them. Now this challenge has been covered for every mainline Pokemon game, however in this video I wanted to take it on a Pokemon Yellow Legacy, which was made by an amazing team and ran by This Myth Plays. This Romhack keeps Pokemon Yellow to its core yellow feeling while adding a huge list of quality of life updates, essentially being what Pokemon Yellow should have been. One of those quality of life changes also includes being able to fully complete the Pokedex. So we're going to see how fast I'm able to complete the Professor Oak's Challenge in Pokemon Yellow Legacy. Now within starting the game, you may have already noticed something different. We're able to be a girl in this game. Such a small feature that I really love and I wanted to mention before we begin. Upon entering the tall grass for the first time, we can watch Professor Oak catch a Pikachu. So it turns out he's gonna be the one doing the challenge for us. We're just gonna sit back and relax with our popcorn. He brings us back to the lab where he gives us our first ever Pokemon Pikachu. Now, the Dex counter hasn't actually gone up yet since we technically don't have the Pokedex yet. Okay, now we do. After spending every last Pokedollar to our name on Pokeballs, we actually have a pretty big list of Pokemon to catch. Route 22 gives us both a male and female Nidoran, as well as Manbear Pig. Earlier when we grabbed Oak's Parcel, we also picked up the Old Rod from this fisherman in the Pokemart. Because of this, we can fish ourselves up a Goldeen and 2 Poliwag since we'll need an extra Poliwhirl later. We also catch a Rattata on Route 2 before moving into Viridian Forest. Now you're probably wondering why we also haven't caught Pidgey and Spearow yet, and that's because I wanted to fight every trainer in Viridian Forest since we need more Pokeballs to finish catching every Pokemon we need for this section. One of the trainers here has a level 8 Pinsir that I made sure to take advantage of with one of our Poliwag. It ended up dishing out a whopping 342 XP, which boosted our Poliwag from level 6 to almost level 10. Sadly, we cannot re-challenge this trainer, but this was a nice little boost to start us off. After buying more Pokeballs, we can return to Route 2 and catch ourselves a Vulpix. And inside Viridian Forest, we can catch a Kakuna, a Pidgey, Weedle, Metapod, Oddish, a level 9 Pidgeotto, and a Caterpie. To finish up the catching part of this section, we also catch ourselves a Spearow back on Route 22. Now for the XP grind. There isn't anywhere really amazing to level grind this early into the game, but the best spot is Viridian Forest. And unlike other Professor Oak challenges I've seen, I didn't pick and choose which Pokemon I killed. Though it may have saved me more time, I just wanted to murder every bug and bird this forest had to offer. I also grinded the whole team collectively rather than grinding one Pokemon individually at a time, as that would save me less trips to the Pokemon Center. I feel like this is common knowledge, but from the videos I've seen on this challenge, people tend to cover the length of each Pokemon individually. After a while of grinding, we can get our first 2 evolutions, being Nidoran female and male into Nidorina and Nidorino respectively, both at level 16. Now, other than the random 1% Pidgeotto that would appear, we weren't getting much experience per knockout, and we still have a bunch of evolutions to cover, including Mankey, Rattata, Poliwag, Goldeen, and the most daunting one of them all is Pidgeotto at level 36. This is when I truly realized how long this challenge would take. But that didn't stop me from committing to this endless grind. Thankfully, I had a bunch of animes I could watch while mindlessly grinding. During my binge-a-thon, we were able to finish up the evolutions for this section, evolving Rattata into Raticate at level 20, Spearow into Fearow at level 20 as well, both Metapod and Kakuna into Butterfree and Beedrill, Mankey into Primeape at level 28, Oddish to Gloom at level 21, Pidgeotto into Pidgeot at level 36, we evolved Poliwag into Poliwhirl, and Golding into Seeking at level 33, bringing our Pokedex total to 27. I'm going to save before each gym leader to show how long each section takes, and surely this section didn't take too long, right? Oh. Now, to no surprise, I was able to one-shot both of Brock's Pokemon, and with our first gym badge obtained, we now have access to Route 3, Mount Moon, Routes 4, 25, 26, so just when I thought I finished the longest section of this challenge, I quickly realized how wrong I was. I fought a bunch of trainers on Route 3 to get our money up, not our funny up, since I just stocked up on Pokeballs, but remembered that I needed to save my money for something else. However, now we can start collecting more Pokemon. Brace yourselves because this is a pretty long list. You ready? On Route 3, we can buy ourselves a Magikarp. Did you get all that? I actually forgot to catch the Jigglypuff here until after I caught the Pokemon on Mount Moon, so although I did catch one, I had to go all the way back through Mount Moon before doing so. However, inside the cave, we were able to catch ourselves a Zubat, Geodude, Sandshrew, Paris, and a Clefairy. We also picked up the 2 Moonstones here, which we'll put to use in a few minutes. As you know, there's also a fossil here we can pick up, and we take the Dome Fossil, although it doesn't matter because we can get the other fossil Pokemon later in the game. After dealing with Jesse and James, I go back to pick up a second Clefairy that we'll need for a trade later, and on Route 4 we can catch ourselves a Farfetch'd, Ekans, and Psyduck. Now that we're in Cerulean City, we can force feed our Pikachu a bunch of potions as this will max out its happiness. Now why would we want to do that? Well, the gift Bulbasaur here requires us to show this girl a Pokemon with lots of friendship, and since we haven't touched our Pikachu since we received it, I figured this would be the perfect way to show our appreciation. Now we can pick up Bulbasaur, and I am not looking forward to grinding this thing up. Thankfully, it's not mindless level grinding yet, as we need to take on our rival who's blocking the way to Route 24 and 25. I also make sure to use a bunch of newly caught Pokemon to take advantage of the XP that our rival, alongside all the other trainers, will give us. Now that we've finally made it through Nugget Bridge, we can catch ourselves a Venonat and an Abra that I luckily caught on my first try. We can also catch a Bellsprout and get the gift Charmander from this trainer, which I don't believe has any requirements. Next, we pick up the SSN ticket from Bill, and this opens up the dig house that Officer Jenny was previously blocking, which means we now have access to Route 5, 6, 11, and Diglett's Cave. So with that being said, let's start catching some more Pokemon. On Route 5, we can pick up a Meowth, Route 6 gives us a Magnemite and Ligaton, and upon entering Vermilion City, we can grab the Good Rod from one of the fishing gurus. However, we won't be fishing just yet, as we have to pick up a Drowsy on Route 11, and both Diglett and Dugtrio in, you guessed it, Diglett's Cave. Now we can put the Good Rod to use and fish up Horsey, the dragon Pokemon. Yet, it's not a dragon type. Good choice, Game Freak. We can also fish up Mr. Krabs. Now it's time to hop on a cruise, and although usually you'd skip all of the trainers here and jump to the rival fight to grab Cut, we actually stay to fight every single trainer possible to take advantage of the XP distribution once again. Although we didn't get any evolutions from these fights, after taking on our rival, Bulbasaur reaches level 16, allowing it to evolve into Ivysaur. After grabbing the HM for Cut and watching as the ship sets sail, we can start this section's level grinding. Now, although not much better, Diglett's Cave has the highest XP distribution with a 5% chance to find Wild Dugtrio, dishing out some decent XP. And with that being said, let's double our dex count. Zubat evolves into Golbat at level 22, Paris into Parasect at 24, Geodude into Graveler, and then again into Golem at level 38. Yes, trade evolutions are now level up evolutions, just to add even more time to this challenge. Sandshrew into Sandslash, Abra into Kadabra, and again into Alakazam at level 42. Yes, I grinded an Abra from level 10 all the way to level 42 against level 17 Digletts. Charmander all the way to Charizard, Drowsy to Hypno, Bellsprout to Weepinbell, Meowth into Persian, Ivysaur to Venusaur. Still with me? We've got plenty more to go. Krabby into Kingler, Venonat into Venomoth, Horsey into Seadra, Ekans to Arbok, Magikarp to Gyarados, Psyduck to Golduck, Magnemite to Magneton, and both Nidorino into Nidoking and Nidorina into Nidoqueen via the Moonstones. To wrap up this entire session, we can trade our second Clefairy we caught earlier to this trainer for a Mr. Mime, bringing our dex total to 74. Now, I want you to guess how many levels this section required to finish. 75? 100? Maybe 150? No, 261 levels. To evolve every new Pokemon we caught in this section, we had to grind up 261 levels off of Digletts. But hopefully that will help you understand why I finished this section with a save time of 58 hours and 27 minutes. Granted, I may have taken the wrong approach as I exclusively grinded in Diglett's Cave, and since Digletts are notoriously fast, they would outspeed most of my Pokemon and get a hit or two in, resulting in many more trips to the Pokemon Center. After steamrolling Misty and receiving her badge, we're now able to use the HM for Cut. This allows us to go for the HM for Flash as well, a Moonstone just south of there, as well as the old Amber from Pewter City Museum. But now that we've got all of those, we can start catching some new Pokemon. Now you may be wondering where, since we should be going for our badge from Surge, right? Well, like I said, we can use the HM Cut, which gives us access to Route 9, Rock Tunnel, and I'm sure the rest of the map is filling out in your head. Anyways, we've got a long list of Pokemon to catch ahead of us, so let's get to it. Route 9 could give us a Pinsir, and after making our way to Rock Tunnel, we can also pick up an Onix, 2 Cubone, and a Machop. Moving from Rock Tunnel to Lavender Town, we can head west to Route 8 to pick ourselves up a Growlithe, Route 7 gives us a Coughing, in Celadon City we can grab the coin case, which we'll discuss later, we can catch a Doduo on Route 16, and we can also pick up the gift Eevee. At this point, I decided to put a pause on catching Pokemon because we need to pick up the Silph Skull from Giovanni, but with that little break over, we can beat up our rival and get back to business. The Pokemon Tower gives us a Ghastly, Haunter, and a 1% Gengar at the very top floor, and during the process we evolve one of our Cubones into a Marowak. Mr. Fuji slides us the Pokeflute, which we can use to pick up a Snorlax, and open up the southern half of Kanto to us. The final Fishing Guru gives us the Super Rod, which we can put to use in a second, but first we grab a Tangela on Route 12, Scyther on Route 13, we can get a gift Almanite from an ex-Fishing Guru in Fuchsia City, Route 17 gives us a Ponyta, Grimer, and we can put that rod to use to fish up a Shelder and Tentacool. Okay, that's pretty much every wild Pokemon we can get. Now we have to cover the Safari Zone. Thankfully, this list was quite small, and catching a Rhyhorn, Execute, Tauros, Chansey, Kangaskhan, and fishing up both the Dratini and Dragonair. On the shore of Route 21, we can also fish up a Staryu. So now we have quite a bit of stuff to do. Evolve all the Pokemon, deal with the events in Silphco, a few trades, and deal with the coin case situation. And rather than taking them on one at a time, I decided to make the best of my time and do most of them at once. Whilst fighting the gym trainers in the dojo, we can evolve Doduo into Dodrio, and on the topic of fighting types, we can trade one of our Cubones for a Machoke. However, this does not evolve since trade evolutions are now level up. After cleaning up the rest of the dojo, we can get ourselves a Hitmonchan, then after fighting almost every single trainer available, including Janine, who's a trainer in Koga's gym, we can tackle the hardest evolution on our list, evolving Dragonair into Dragonite at level 55. During our slaughter of trainers across the region, we can add our rival to the list in Silphco, and the man in the corner gives us a Lapras as a reward. We beat up Giovanni and disband Team Rocket, leaving us to get the rest of our XP from wild Pokemon on Route 15 and 18. However, by the end of another mindless grind, binging even more anime, including JJK and Chainsaw Man, we can evolve Machoke into Machamp, Tentacool into Tentacruel, Ponyta into Rapidash, Grimer into Muck, Rhyhorn into Rhydon, Ammonite into Omastar, Coughing to Weezing, Execute and Shelter into Exeggutor and Cloyster with Evolution Stones, as well as Staryu and Starmie with a Water Stone. Gloom and Weepinbell use up our Leaf Stones to evolve into Vileplume and Victreebel, Poliwhirl to Poliwrath with a Water Stone, Growlithe into Arcanine, Eevee into Jolteon, and finally, Vulpix into Ninetales. Now you might have noticed that I didn't mention Clefable or Wigglytuff, and that's because I made an oopsie. I used our 2 Moonstones on a Nidorino and a Nidorino I had caught in the Safari Zone, and the problem is you only get 5 Moonstones per Pokemon Yellow save file, and unfortunately this remains true for Pokemon Yellow Legacy. So although the challenge has technically now been failed, I can still obtain these 2 Pokemon, just not right now. With that being said, our Pokedex total is now 123. We ended this mindless grind session with a save file time of 80 hours and 17 minutes. However, we aren't done this section just yet. You may have remembered at the start of the section, we picked up the coin case. Yep, that's right folks, it's time to gamble. Just kidding, I'd rather play it safe and farm every dollar that I can get. So after buying as many coins as I can, and coming short on the grand total of 8,000 coins required, I went to grinding on wild Pokemon. But they don't give you money when you defeat them, so how do I get money this way? Well, you can thank this little kitty. Persian learns the move Payday, which drops double your level's number in money. So at level 28, it will drop 56 for each time it's used. At level 29, it will drop 58. Yeah, not that great, but what can you do? Combining this with selling every expendable item I have and 2.5 hours of grinding with Payday, we were finally able to reach 8,000 coins. Now we can buy an Electabuzz for 1,500 coins, a Porygon for 4,500, a Magmar for 1,500, and a Seal for 500 coins. Now to finally wrap up this section, we can evolve Seal into Dugong and trade our second Poliwag from all the way at the start of the video, now evolved into Poliwhirl for a Jinx, bringing the dex count to 129. I forgot to check the save time before Koga, but right after beating him, we've reached a time of 84 hours and 30 minutes. Also yes, I said Koga because we don't have to fight the gym leaders in the correct order, and Koga's gym badge gives us the ability to use Surf outside of battle, which allows us to get even more Pokemon. Sorry Surge, you'll have to wait. In the meantime, we can catch a Slowpoke from Seafoam Island, then we make our way north to the power plant. Here we can grab a Voltorb, Electrode, and a newly added Raichu. Fun fact, it is physically impossible to get Raichu in base Pokemon Yellow since you can't find wild Pikachu or Raichu anywhere else in the game, and your starter Pikachu will not evolve with a Thunderstone. And of course, we can find Zapdos here too, but not before fighting this guy camping the legendary bird. Thankfully, he was no match for a Dragonite and Alakazam. This allows us to catch the first of the legendary birds, and then we can travel to the opposite side of the map in Cinnabar Island to recover Aerodactyl from the Old Amber. In the Pokemon Mansion, we can pick up a Ditto and a Moonstone, and then go back to recover Kabuto as well since it does take time to restore. I can use a rare candy I picked up to evolve Kabuto right away into Kabutops, and a little bit later evolve Slowpoke into Slowbro, as well as evolve Clefairy into Clefable with the Moonstone we picked up previously, increasing the dex total to 140. We finish up this very small section in only a few hours, which given the fact that I still cannot fly and did a lot of traveling across Kanto, I'd say isn't too bad. Now, after receiving the Thunder Badge, we only get access to one additional Pokemon line. Officer Jenny will give us the Squirtle if we have the Thunder Badge, as it proves us worthy of training this Pokemon. It only took an hour and a half to fully evolve Squirtle into Blastoise, training in Diglett's Cave because I thought this would be much faster than Switch training. Then we can beat Erica and get the rainbow badge, allowing us to use strength outside of battle, so we can pick up our second legendary bird Articuno in Seafoam Islands. But before we do, we have to fight this lady who's yet again camping another bird. After beating her, she defies all laws and physics of Pokemon by standing on the side of an island cave thing? What is this thing even called? Naturally, after some trial and error, we catch Articuno, upping our Pokedex counter to 144. Once we beat Sabrina, we get access to the grass patches in Route 23, or the badge checker area. Now normally this route is skipped since it has no new Pokemon, but in Yellow Legacy, all of the starters were added here at a 5% chance, and Eevee was added here at a 1% chance. So after 20 minutes, we can catch 2 of those and evolve them into Flareon and Vaporeon. Now we've basically completed the entire dex, just missing 5 Pokemon, including the Wigglytuff that we should have had by now. Currently we're at 91 hours in our save time, so let's pick up the pace. We can beat both Blaine and Giovanni, as well as our rival on the way to Victory Road. Here we can find Moltres, and after catching it, we can also pick up a Hitmonlee. Now we have every Pokemon obtainable before the postgame, besides Wigglytuff. It's now time to take on the Elite Four, and I won't lie, I may have blacked out during my first run, which I'm not proud of that fact, but I assumed Alakazam was strong enough to solo. I made sure to bring the legendary birds the second time around, which in this case is the charm. We become the champion with a save file time of 92 hours and 50 minutes, however we aren't done just yet. If we head into Cerulean Cave, we can finally catch that damn Wigglytuff. And then we have to throw hands with Smith before catching the final Pokemon of the challenge, Mewtwo. And with that, we've successfully caught 150 Pokemon, so after getting lost in Cerulean Cave and forcing myself to white out just to escape, we can go talk to the Professor Oak and see what he has in store for us. But rather than a reward, he vanishes? Curious, I roam the region, searching far and wide, just to find Professor Oak in the Pokemon Mansion. He reveals to us that he has some powerful Pokemon that he has kept secret in fear of having such power land in the wrong hands. But with the creation of Mewtwo, his fear became reality. Then he challenges us to a battle, but as you can see, Gen 1 Alakazam is absolutely broken, taking down his Tauros and all 3 legendary birds before falling to a Snorlax. Thankfully, I brought Mewtwo to clean up both his Snorlax and his Nidoking, but just then, we hear something in the distance. After rushing into the basement, we come face to face with Mew. After successfully catching it, we have completed the Professor Oak's challenge, completing his dream of completing the Pokedex with all 151 dex entries. We finished with a playtime of 94 hours and 4 minutes, and for my first Professor Oak's challenge, I don't think that time is too bad. I absolutely could have saved much more time with a bit of better planning, as I did catch every Pokemon in the ideal spots. I also did a lot of backtracking post Misty without Fly, so that was a lot of walking. If you guys enjoyed, I would greatly appreciate it if you could drop a like on this video, and if you haven't already, click that subscribe button down below as we're on the road to 10,000 subscribers and every single sub helps. And with that being said, I'd like to thank you all for watching, and YouTube says you should click the video on screen now. They think you'll like this video, and I know you'll like this video because I made it. Well, what are you waiting for? There's nothing left in the video. Seriously, just click it.